Now, a lot of you are probably thinking after seeing the title of this video,
Panel clamps? He's already made those.
okay, yes, I've already made a video on panel clamps, but there's a couple reasons why I wanted to make another video. The original panel clamps were great for gluing up large panels. These small clamps are great because they're small and easier for small projects. The second reason was the difficult, less precise method to making the last ones. Let me show you why you'll want to make these. Today I'm using 3-foot weldable half-inch tubing. I went with this more expensive tubing over conduit due to its smaller size. I'm marking them near the halfway point and using a grinder to cut them to size. Now, we're not partial here. A hacksaw will work just as well. After I cut them all to size, I lined up all the factory ends to one side. This is the jig I made in our last video. It's extremely simple to make and will give us the exact drilling spaces that we'll need. I saved you the misery of watching me build it twice, but we'll have it in the description and at the end of this video. It works like this. We'll drill a hole about an inch away from the end. After we drill through both top and bottom walls of the tube, we'll add a 1/4 inch dowel to lock it in place. I didn't measure here, but I went down about 3.5 inches. Ain't she beautiful? From here on out, I'll space each hole 3 inches apart. Notice that I haven't moved the dowel I put at the beginning. This jig uses rectangular slices of wood instead of dowels to hold both ends together, preventing the two sides from twisting as you slide it open and closed. I also think it makes it easier for it to slide. Once we're done, we'll pull out the rod that held everything straight and give it a look. We've made what I'll call our base rod. We'll start the process over by drilling the first hole again in a new rod, but only the first hole. As you'll notice, I got smart the second time around and grabbed some water to dip my bit in to cool it down. Once the beginning hole has been drilled in the new rod, we'll double up the rods, leaving the rod with only the first hole drilled at the bottom. The base rod will be our pattern and sits on the top. Now it's really as simple as moving the jig so that the hole lines up with pre-drilled holes of the base rod. We'll drill, move the jig, and add a 1/4 inch bolt through the last set of holes. Again, it's just a matter of drilling from here on out and moving our bolt each time, remembering to water the tip of the bit after we drill through each wall of tubing. I love this method so much better than trying to find the center of each tube, worrying about exact distances, fighting wandering bits, and generally trying to keep things lined up and balanced on the small drill press table of mine. After we're done with the first set, you can see how precise each tube is. Just remember to keep your base rod separate and to use it every time you make a new rod. These rods are done, but we're going to want to clean things up. We'll first use a half-round file to clean up the inside of the hole. Take your time and let the file do the work. Adding a 2x4 to the bench gave me something to push it against. This is what you're looking for. Now, don't be lazy, clean both front and back holes. Next, we'll clean the inside of each end we cut, using a rounded file. Of course, we don't have to do this with the factory ends. Finally, we'll use the file to clean off the ends. Again, only the ends we cut. I used a wire brush wheel to clean up each tubing, but you could easily do it with a little 220 sandpaper. Next, we'll get out some paint thinner and remove all the garbage we cleaned off. I hit it with a little spray paint at this point and cured it in the sun. Trust me, it takes a few days to get that paint stuck on there, so be very patient. While that dried, I made finger knobs out of bolts and wing nuts by using some JB Weld. These bolts are 4 inches long. You could go bigger, but I probably wouldn't go a whole lot smaller. Here I've made enough for 2 mini panel clamps. Okay, here's the truth. If you don't feel like painting the tubing, you don't have to. Either way, add some wax to keep your clamps free from glue. Now, we're going to work on lateral clamping. I'm going to come clean with you all. I had some over-engineered ideas I was dabbling with. I had these small triangles I was going to use as wedges, gluing rubber bicycle tubing to the sides. They were similar to the last wedges I created for the big panel clamps, but they just didn't work out. I also had these large triangles I was going to use. I spent a good few hours on a micro-adjustable set of boards that were going to give the clamps a bit more bite. I mean, it looks like the method would work, but it ended up being a complicated mess. In the end, I found that a pair of adjustable clamps works just as well. Stick with simplicity. Trust me, these clamps are going to get a lot of action. Not being limited by regular bar clamps, these clamps give me a lot more flexibility. I have the ability to work with extremely thin stock or any other complicated configurations I can dream up. But you be the judge. Tell me what you think. Would you make or buy these? I'm very interested in your opinion. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell, and I thank you so much for being a part of my shop. Please leave a comment below, come find me on Instagram at MakeThingsWithRob, and remember to keep making things.